So guys, before we get started, don't forget we do have that amazing discount code thanks to Tier 0 Games going on right now. And all you have to do is put in ZWGames5 to get 5% discount on your total order at tier0games.com. The links will be in the description below. What's up YouTube, Darryl here from Zephyr Games, bringing you my top 5 meta decks. Now of course we are moving into the new or the final quarter of the season, this being of course Euro season for us in the UK as well as national season, and of course we do have Worlds coming at the end as well. After that we have looked at what comes in between, like any new set releases or card releases, and we don't actually get anything new or massively new apart from the Dark Neo Storm special editions between now and Euros. In those special editions, we get the spell card that is basically Dragon's Mirror for spellcasters, and we also get Rising Dragon, I believe it is. It's what the new synchro that's kind of like Stardust. So they're good cards, but they're not going to change the meta, which is why I thought it's a good time to bring you my personal top 5 meta decks, and then I'll also be bringing you a video about side deck cards as well for how to counter some of these meta decks. So starting off at number 5, we are going with any form of Endymion build, so obviously Endymion Magicians, Endymion Zephyr, stuff like that. It is very, very consistent, incredibly powerful. It has the ability to FTK, it has a lot of way of working around Ash Blossom, and it can also produce incredibly powerful boards on top of if it does not need to use Electromite. So if their Electromite gets hit, it is their weak point, but they do have the ability to move further forward from there. Depending on the pilot behind the deck as well, the average board can end on 4 to 5 negates, depending on what you have in hand, including Ash Blossoms, Ogres, and anything like that. But the normal board can end up with the Master Endymion, which is also a spell and trap negator, with, of course, an Abyss. They also have the ability to use and abuse the Amorphages, so Goliath to stop you special summoning and can be a macrocosmo in the scale. They can use Electri, which can stop you using spells and, of course, stop the special summoning. And of course Sloth, which stops the search. They do have the ability to lock that off alongside stuff like Vortex Dragon and of course Dawn Dragster as well. So they have a lot of negates and a lot of power. The issue is it is a pendulum deck, so there are ways around it, stuff like anti-spell. People are playing a lot of heavy back row hate because of another deck in our list or another 2 decks in our list. So that does contribute to part of the issue as well. So that's it for those decks at number 5, or the Endymions at number 5. As you can imagine, an incredibly powerful deck. A lot of consistency, a lot of draw power, especially with the new Pendulum Halt as well if you want to use that. And of course the Endymion spell card as well. Moving on to number 4, of course we have Salomon Grace. Now Salomon Grace came out as probably one of the best structure decks around right now, and probably in the past. It's still very, very consistent, very, very powerful, got a lot of nice reprints, especially Ash Blossom. Now they did take a little knock on the ban list, losing Lady Debug 2-1, but then they did get given Signet Mining, which some people believe is a really, really good card, but of course some people on the other hand don't think it's a good card at all, because if you get Ash Blossomed, you're then neg 2, because you've had to discard a card and you lost that card as well. On the plus side, it does allow you to activate Gazelle as well. You can search Gazelle, so you activate Silent Mining, ditch like Spinny or any other fire. Salomon Grace card, search out Gazelle, and then on a new chain, Gazelle goes off because one Salomon Grace was sent. They still produce a very, very powerful board as well. Obviously, their back row is more important than their front row, and reincarnating is the most important thing. So hitting the field spell is where they're weakest. And again, a reliance on the field spell does make the deck have an Achilles heel. But it's still an incredibly powerful deck, very, very consistent, and a lot of players have access to the deck as well. Moving on to number 3 is any form of Orcas build, but mainly this one here, which is Danger Orcas. Now, Dangers provide Orcas with the ability of getting themselves in graveyard if you have them in hand. The Orcas combo itself, like I've shown you in previous videos, is incredibly generic. But if you were to be playing in a pure focus build, being able to have the introduction of Dingrisu and of course the new Orcas Crescendo gives the card, or gives the deck itself, a very, very powerful counterplay, as well as a very, very powerful XYZ monster that can send and protect as well. So being able to chain block it alongside your Rusty Bardiche as well to pop a card and send a card, the average board of an Orcas can actually end with 2 Fog Blades, 1 Counter Trap Crescendo, plus the ability of reviving a Dingrisu from the graveyard to then trigger off the Rusty Bardiche to pop a card and send a card. It has a lot of power behind it, very, very consistent, and then you muddle that in with a danger engine, which is constantly going to let you draw through the deck until you get the cards you need, and as well send cards from your hand that you no longer need to the graveyard to incorporate their effects as well. So it's very, very consistent, very, very powerful, and there's no surprise why dangers are so high in value right now. Mainly the most important ones of Nessie, Jackalope, and of course Sneak. So they are at number 3 is Orcas Dangers. Number 2. The number 2 is Mystic Mine Burn. Now, Mystic Mine Burn, if for those of you that don't know, people actually do play this deck. They do play this, so don't be surprised if you run up against this at a tournament. Mystic Mine is basically, I need to try and be polite here. I play Mystic Mine, I win the game. If you can't out Mystic Mine, it is a degenerate deck that you play Mystic Mine, your opponent can't use card effects, they can't declare battle if they have more monsters than you, and then of course, if you then couple that with stuff like Ojama Trio, the Ojama Double, give your opponent tokens on their board so they always have more monsters than you unless they have a way of getting rid of it, and then you've got the Mystic Mine, you've got Secret Barrel, you've got constant amount of other burn cards, you've got Demise, you've got Duality, you're just going to burn through your deck, draw through your deck, get into Meta versus Lilith, stuff like that, and you're going to cause your opponent such a bad time. Which is why the side deck video that I'll be showing you guys is so important. You need so much back row hate. Stuff like Denko allows you to stall your opponent out until you get to the card that you need as well. It's also a very, very good card. So that's a little sneak peek into that. But Mystic Mine, believe it or not, because it is so consistent in the powerful set that it can just Mystic Mine shut down, and you as an opponent playing against that really, really struggle to get past it. It gives the Mystic Mine player enough time to draw into their burn cards and all their other cards that they need to finish you off. Now, number 1, no surprise here, this deck is still incredibly powerful. It is getting a little bit tiresome, but it is the best deck in this format right now, and that is Sky Strikers. And the reason Sky Strikers are still so good, even with one Kagari, is they have the ability to play Mystic Mine as well. Now, there are a lot of builds out there playing Mystic Mine, which allows them to, when they're only having one monster, they can stall out their opponent, but they can also shut out those boards of 3 or 4 negates on board, and just go, cool, you can now no longer respond to my card effects because I've used multi-rolls effect. I'm going to use Widow Anchor and start taking some of your monsters. I can then get rid of Mystic Mine when I want to with my own field spell. I can shuffle back my Kagari if I need to. Eventually their board just gets so overwhelmingly powerful. It's still the best deck out there. The consistency is still there. It's crazy consistent. Even with the Kagari hit to 1, like I said, that there was the Magnet Reverse spell card that went up in price and went up in value as well when that happened, and not a lot of people that I have seen personally are using that. They're going more for the Hercules base, and then other ways, but they're just more cautious with their Kagari. They're not losing anything, they just have to think a little bit more about it, be a bit more defensive with it, rely on Shizuku as well, and Hayate, just being able to go Hayate, poke for damage, Hayate, poke for damage. Is very, very good. And then being able to send your cards from the deck as well to then add them back from Kagari when you need to, get the additional draw. It does hit the consistency in a slight bit in the sense that you can't loop your engages as easily, but still being able to use and abuse multi-roll is an incredibly powerful card. Widow Anchor, again, is incredibly powerful as well. So, that is it for my personal top 5 meta decks in this upcoming format. A couple of honourable mentions as well before we go. Of course, True Dracos are a very, very good matchup against Mystic Mine, but then of course they do have the downside. They can beat Mystic Mine, but then they might falter against everything else. They can really, really struggle against the other decks. You also have Dino variants. Now, the Dinos right now have a very, very powerful level 9 engine, thanks to the Ibli. The new Ibli Synchro. Unfortunately, that level 9 engine is so cloggy, it does cause issues. However, normal dinos or Dino Thunder can also put in a very, very good and powerful shift. Again, it does struggle against stuff like Sky Strikers if you don't put a Kaiju on their board and then clear off their back row. But the deck is still very, very powerful and can easily creep in to be one of the meta decks. It will definitely be a road deck in my opinion, and it will kind of catch a lot of people by surprise in the sense that not that you won't expect people to be playing it, but because of the power of the deck, it can actually overwhelm some of the meta decks quite easily. Just the consistency is where it lacks, and it can brick quite heavily, so you've got to be careful on that one. The other honourable mention as well is Thunder Dragon Danger, or Thunder Dragon Guard Dragons, Thunder Orcas, however you want to say it. This deck is still very, very powerful. Now, the boards that they can create right now can end in like 1, if not 2 Colossuses, alongside a Hope Harbinger, plus the Hieratic Spheres as well. And that is going to cause your opponent a lot of issues straight off the bat. Not to mention you can add a Bane to that, not a Bane, an Abyss to that board as well. So you've got additional negations on top of that. It is very, very powerful. And obviously the dangers help get the cards into the graveyard to then be used for the Chaos Dragon Leviathan and your white and black Eclipse Wyverns as well. So the consistency is there and the power plays are there as well. So it's very, very good to push these ones further forward and to use and abuse as they see fit. However, again, just like Dinos, it relies on a lot of heavy, high-level monsters, so it can easily brick. You do require a danger in your hand to unlock it, and the price values of some of these cards are crazy that not everyone can get access to. That is my thoughts on the top 5 meta decks. I hope you like them. Let me know if you agree with the top 5. If not, let me know what you would put in some of the positions right there. It'll be very, very interesting to see how Nationals and Euros shape up, and it'll be nice to see how Worlds eventually finishes as well. Keep your eye out on Orcas, incredibly powerful deck, incredibly powerful engine as well, and it'll be very, very good to see where that kind of evolves from here on. I do believe that after the next ban list, Sky Strikers will be killed, Thunder Dragons will probably take a little knock as well, Salomon Grace might take another consistency knock as well, and Mystic Mine I would like to say will get hit, but it really depends on how dominant the deck will now be. It does mean that for now our side decks are going to be a lot of back row hate. However, that's just the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, people, unfortunately. But I hope you like this. Please check out our video on the top 15, because that is what your side deck is. We're going to go with 15 different cards you can put into your extra deck that will help you combat these meta decks. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. And until next time, guys, as always, happy dueling. What's up, YouTube? Dan here from Zephyr Games. Thanks for watching that video. If you liked it, please hit that big thumbs up button in the bottom corner as well. And don't forget to hit the big red subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything. Make sure you click that notification bell as well so you know every time one of our new videos goes up. Throughout the whole year of 2019, we're going to have more deck profiles, duels, and of course pack openings for you guys to watch and enjoy the entire year round. So stay tuned for more, and as always guys, happy dueling.